Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode in the Run Breiter Podcast. My name is Sam Breiter, and I'm joined with my co-host,
Colleen Mock.
And today we are going to do a recap of our most recent marathon, the Nationwide Children's Columbus Marathon, which we did actually just 3 weeks ago from today. I wish we would have done a more soon recap, but life be life sometimes, and I really wanted to make sure to have Colleen on. I've been doing a lot of travel. She's been busy. So the big point is we're here today, and we're excited to talk through the race, but would love to hand it over to you, Colleen. I mean, we could probably start with the expo, because that's always how race weekend kicks off. How did that meet your expectations?
Oh, I loved the expo. I thought it was a nicely sized one. Like, I feel like I don't have many expos to compare it to, but Chicago, for example, the expo is like massive. And it's so big that sometimes it gets like a little repetitive and kind of overwhelming, at least is what I vaguely thought. But I thought that the Columbus expo was like the perfect size. Like, it didn't feel repetitive. Each display was unique. There were plenty of opportunities to get different gear, different swag opportunities, whatever you want to call it. And then they had this really cool tunnel that was like a obviously very abbreviated version of the course that had the different signs with the mile champions on it. So it showed you pictures of the children that would be at each mile for the mile champion. And so you could walk through like the tunnel and you could see what to look out for, see who to look out for, see what the signs would look like, all of that beforehand. And then you occasionally have the chance to meet some of the mile champions if they were at the expo at that time. And then there was a lot of, in my opinion, like really high quality things if you were a children's champion as well. So that was what you were called if you were a fundraiser. And so something that I had forgotten about was like, depending on how much you fundraise, you got different like perks for being a fundraiser. And one of those was like getting a cool hat, getting a shirt, socks, different things like that. And so that was really fun. And then additionally, I think my favorite thing at the expo was like this free little temporary tattoo that actually had the names of all the mile champions on it, with each mile. So you could put it on, like I put it on my arm. And so you could look down and see like the name of each mile champion for each assigned mile, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
But what did you think about it, Sam?
No, for sure. I'm happy to touch on that. But really quick, we did do a preview of the race where we explained the cause and the charity and what the mile champions actually mean. So we don't have to get too deep into it here, Colleen, but for anyone who might be just listening for the first time or they didn't see that preview, can you give like just a 10 to 20 second rundown of the charity and the cause for the race?
Yeah, so Nationwide Children's Hospital puts on the race. If you raise money, if you're a fundraiser, the money goes towards the hospital, and you can select different areas of the hospital that you want the donations to go to. I selected it to go to the Heart Center, but the mile champions are patients at Nationwide Children's Hospital that have had a variety of different disease, illnesses, whatever it may be. And so it's kind of like an immediate way to see why it's such a good cause.
For sure. And yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, from my end, I have been to a lot of different race expos. This was my 10th marathon, and so I've been to probably 10 plus expos, including some of the half marathons I've done. I haven't keeping full count, but I would definitely say this was like well above average. I think the nice thing about it is I felt as if it was very themed based on the race. So as Colleen touched on the mile champions and how everything was really emphasized on them. But then outside of that, it was just very Ohio, Columbus focused with a lot of their local businesses there and just gear and apparel. There were a lot of options to really have pride that, hey, you ran 26.2 2 miles or the half or even the 5K in Columbus that weekend. And so I think that was really great because I do think a lot of these expos can almost become overly commercialized. And, while I love the Nike and the New Balance and the Hoka products, sometimes it's too much of that and not as much about the city, the cause, and the race itself. And I thought it was just cool that it had that experience. And, it was definitely like a bigger expo than I expected, considering the overall numbers of participants in the actual race itself.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of phrase it. Like, it was very themed, right? Like, the Columbus Marathon Nationwide Children's Hospital has like butterflies, so there was like tons of butterflies everywhere, and so it felt very cohesive.
Yeah. And it was at a Nationwide Conference Center, I believe, big facility. Something to know if you are doing this race, in 2026 or in the years after, if it continues to be at the facility. The race was on Sunday. You could pick up your packet and attend the expo on Friday or Saturday. If I did it again, I'd probably go on Friday just because it is a little bit of a longer walk going in, and then you want to walk around and see what's going on. I don't think it impacted the race, the number of steps we got in, but most of these expos, you do end up walking more than you'd like. But I always think it's good, you want to take your time there. You don't want to have to feel like, oh, I got to hold back my steps. So I would recommend going 2 days early or going early in the morning if you can.
Yeah, or checking for a closer parking garage.
Yeah.
Because we definitely parked at a further one thinking that it was the closest, and then we got there and we were like, wow, there's one way closer.
Yeah, be strategic, plan ahead, think about this, is my recommendation. But ultimately, not a big deal. And if you're just running the race for fun, for the cause, then I wouldn't even worry about it at all. But yeah, that was the expo. And then, we stayed at a friend's house. We got a good night of sleep, or we attempted to. I think I got 4 or 5 hours. I don't know about you.
I got a really good night's sleep, actually. I feel like I got 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
It's really good.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take 4 or 5 hours. I rarely get more than just a couple hours the night before a race, but yeah, let's talk about actually the arrival, logistically driving into the race and then getting to the start of the race. How do you feel that was in comparison to some of your other experiences at races?
I thought it was a little chaotic. I guess I don't have a lot of good benchmarks for it. But this one seemed like there was just a lot going on, and what made it what made it feel more chaotic was that it was already raining, and so people are wearing ponchos, and you're just kind of trying to figure out what's going on, and also thinking about the weather, and it's cold, and my stomach was upset, so I got out when you went to park the car because I was I have to go to the bathroom, gotta get out of here. But what was really nice was that one of the perks that we had through doing the fundraising was that we had access to a fundraising champion tent. So there was I had private gear check, and then Sam, and there were private bathrooms, and then Sam was able to come in and use the private bathrooms, and then also just stay under shelter for just a little bit longer, so that was cool.
Yeah, that was definitely a huge perk. And what was the minimum amount you needed to raise in order to get that? I know you went above that, but do you happen to know the minimum?
I wouldn't be able to tell you for certain. I kind of want to say it was $250 to get access to the tent.
Okay.
But I think that there was different qualifiers. So I think if you raised a certain amount, you got access. If you raised an additional amount, you and a friend got access to it. But yeah, that was certainly a big perk, and it also had coffee and breakfast and stuff too.
Yeah.
I didn't eat anything. But afterwards there was additional food there too, which was really nice.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, if I were to go back and do this race again, and let's say Colleen was the one who raised money for charity, so kudos to her. But if I would have known about this experience and let's say she wasn't raising money, I would have either tried to raise money or I would have just donated the minimum amount for us to both get access to the tent, because you get there early, and for one, like, the private bathrooms is really big, so you don't have to get there as early, but then, like, being in a warm, more controlled environment when that beginning of the race can be very hectic. It can be stressful, especially, like, if you're someone that doesn't love big crowds. I mean, like, I think we're both fine with it, but it's like, would we rather have some space and, like, be able to take our time, or feel, like, super rushed? And the private gear check, that was huge. I didn't get to do that.
So nice.
She got to do that, and, like, I had to walk.
It took me 20 seconds. It was great.
I had to walk probably an additional half mile just because of the private gear check, like, just there, and then after the race as well, where you didn't have to do that.
No.
So that's something I would recommend. But yeah, I mean, I would say, like, when driving in, like, there was a lot of traffic. There was a lot of different areas to park. I ended up just getting a spot on, the side of the road. There was, like, street parking, and I ended up walking, I want to say, like, 15 minutes before I got to the main area where the race was going on. So I don't think it was really that bad. I mean, there's certainly races where there's no parking. You have to, like, take a bus and, like, be up even earlier. I mean, I think we ended up leaving at 6 a.m. and we had some decent buffer time for the start of the race, which I really don't think was that bad. So I think, like, overall, in comparison to other races, like, logistically, not too bad. You just want to, like, do your research. Like, there is ways to get a specific parking pass. Like, we weren't proactive as far as getting that. So, like, look for a parking pass, or just, like, be prepared to get there a little extra early. But I would say getting tent access and raising extra money for charity, or doing the donation yourself, highly recommend it if you have the ability to do so. And if not, you're going to be fine, right? And I think there's options to get, like, an Uber there, or, like, stay in the downtown district, and maybe that could be even a better experience, but that's just based on our experience. But yeah, let's dive into the race day conditions, because you did give a little bit of a preview regarding the rain. So I'm gonna talk through what the conditions were, because I definitely have it memorized in my skull.
It's, like, imprinted.
Yeah. So race conditions were not ideal. We had a yellow flag warning through the entire race. Glad it didn't get to red.
Which, for people who didn't see your alert, means that a yellow flag warning indicates that it's suboptimal for trying to PR. So the recommendations are to adjust your expectations, go slower, take your time, listen to your body, all those things. Because there was all the conditions that Sam will be talking about, but it also impacts the air quality too.
Yeah, for sure. And backwards towards normal weather conditions, the weather actually started off warmer and then cooled out throughout the day. So I believe at the start time of the race, we were in, like, the mid to high 60s.
Yeah.
And then throughout the race, it got, like, a little cooler, hitting to low, probably was, like, 60 degrees, which, like, temperature-wise was definitely a little warmer than we would have liked. It was also just, like, very humid.
Yeah.
The air quality was definitely suboptimal as well. It was in, like, the 60s, 70s, which, like, for those who don't track air quality, you typically want below 50 and, like, as close to zero as possible, because, like, anything above 50 is, like, considered less than ideal, especially for people who have any sort of, like, respiratory conditions.
Like asthma.
Like asthma, which for those who don't know, I have asthma, which is always fun. And then the wind was roughly 20 to 30 miles throughout the race, which
miles per hour, yeah.
Miles per hour, which we definitely felt. So,
the rain picked up as you were running too, because, like, at the beginning, I actually liked the, like, intensity of the rain. I thought it was like a nice, steady, like, not too much, enough to make you feel cool, because, like we said, like Sam said, it was a little bit warmer. So the rain was, like, nice at the beginning, and then it, like, downpoured, like, absolutely downpoured at one point. Yeah,
I mean, I would say for probably, like, 2 hours of like my race experience, it was raining.
Mm-hmm.
Probably like an hour plus it wasn't. And probably an hour was either downpour or hail. Would you say that was like pretty similar for you? Obviously, you were running a little longer, but
Yeah, I was a little behind. I was far behind. I feel like it only quote stopped raining for maybe like 15 minutes, and even then it was like misting. Like there was still precipitation going on. But specifically like where I was at on the course when it started downpouring, the like filtration like portion on the roads was not working well. So I was like running through standing water at points, and that was the time, that is at that moment that I decided to adjust my expectations for the race, because I felt like I was swimming. And then the wind was picking up too, and that's also when it was hailing.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, before we get into like our specific like
Adjustments.
experience and adjustments that we made, the one thing I will point out is that even with these race conditions, Columbus, Ohio, and the whole state of Ohio, I'm sure plenty of people from other areas and whatnot came in to support friends and family.
Oh yeah.
Really, really showed up. I mean, like I said, I've ran 10 marathons at this point, probably over 100 races, and I don't think that, there's been a race I've ran with like this level of rain and wind where there has been such a great showing.
Yeah.
And like I didn't really have super high expectations, because when you think of running cities, you think of New York, Chicago, whatever it might be. You don't really think Columbus, but throughout majority of the course, there were some dead spots, but like it was very hard to not see people having a good time, making the most of the experience, handing things out, supporting runners, helping runners.
Yeah.
Any perspective from you on the overall crowd and experience there?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved the crowd so much. There was at one point someone was like, "You're awesome," and I'm like, "No, you're awesome." Like I probably like wouldn't have continued to run, maybe like if the crowd wasn't there. Like the fact that they were out like freezing their butts off in the rain, because if you're standing there in the cold rain, like you're getting cold even if the air temperature is like a little warm, right? So that was just really like heartwarming to see. And then additionally, like it really hit me, I know we're not talking about individual experiences, but like the people who came out for like the Angel Mile too, that was really impactful for me. They came out to stand in the rain and show remembrance for their loved ones who had passed, which I thought was just really poignant.
Yeah. And if you are running the race in the coming years, I would just say like really be excited, especially if your weather conditions are good.
Yeah.
About the overall crowd and experience there, because I don't see it going down.
No, certainly not. It can only get better.
Yeah, and Columbus, it's got a good community. I mean, there's young professionals, there's families, there's a lot of college students, and it's a central city with really good access when we talk about like people traveling in from different areas. They've got a big airport and everything like that. It's the capital of Ohio. So yeah, I mean, just definitely overly exceeded my expectations regarding a lot, and definitely the crowd support was one that I was very surprised about in the best way possible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's pivot, Colleen. I think people should have a pretty good idea as far as what they're signing up for, when it comes to the overall logistics and atmosphere of the race. They can't control what their weather is going to be like, but we do know historically that this is a race where the weather is typically good. It's that, fall marathon vibe. So this was definitely a one-off year, but I'd love to hear from you. Walk me through, miles 1 through 26.2 and how the race went for you compared to what you expected on a personal level.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that's the thing about racing too. Like, you're gonna do everything that you can to make it to the start line healthy, right? But whether you get dealt or what random thing happens in your life within the first within 24 hours of the race. That's just kind of what you got to work with. And so going into it, I was like, I think I can still PR. The rain at the beginning, like I said, was like, it was at a rate that I appreciated. Like, I felt good. I was doing good. I was running. I felt like I was like, it was hard. But I was on pace. I was maybe like a little fast, but not like majorly so. Up, like, it was getting tough, I'll tell you that. But I was feeling good. I had wiggle room. I kept telling myself, like, I can just slow down if I want to. It's fine. Like, you're still going to hit your goals, all of this. And running was really cool to see, like, all the different people. But I will say at one point I was getting confused because I kept seeing, like, same spectators, like, multiple times. And I'm like, how are you getting, like, how quickly did you get from here to there? And I'm like trying to use this as some sort of like estimate of where I'm at on the course, because like I honestly didn't study the course map that much. So then whenever I was seeing like the same neighborhood twice, I'm like, what's going on? Like, obviously we're looping and coming back, but like how long ago was I just here? I don't know what's going on. But then by mile 13, everything like split. So the half marathoners went off to the left. The marathoners kept going straight. And that was also something that was on my mind. Probably by like mile 11, I was like, how many of these people are doing the full, right? Because there were people that were certainly looking like a lot stronger that I was feeling. There were definitely people who were looking like they were on the struggle bus. As is what happens whenever you're at like mile 10, mile 11. And mile 11, like I mentioned, was also the Angel Mile. And so that was like a very touching, I almost cried during that mile. I was like, I'm not going to do it. Like, I can make it through. And then I saw a woman who was just like very seriously holding up like a 4x6 picture of their loved one. She wasn't saying anything. She wasn't shouting or chanting or doing anything. She just was holding in remembrance this image of a child that had passed away in her life. And it just kind of reminded me, like, this is what this is about. Like, seeing the kids at each mile, seeing the family members who are out here, this is why it's important to keep going. And so even though, like, I had all of my own like thoughts that I typically have during a marathon anyway. It was nice to have this like immediate in my face, like this, and this is why you're doing it. It's not just about you. It's not just about like whatever that meaning is for you, but it's for something bigger. And so, like going through mile 11 was emotionally challenging, but I felt pretty strong, kept going. Mile 13 was the split. And then I like checked my watch to see like my half marathon time. I was still on pace. I was doing good. I was like, I might actually PR. I might do like quite well in this. And there were certainly times where I felt like there was a lot more like uphill than there was downhill, but I was like still pushing anyway. But it was like kind of hard when the split happened. For a couple of reasons. Like, it thinned out, which is good, but also I'm like, well, now there's less people that I'm running with. Like, this is a little bit, like, I don't have as much camaraderie here. And then part of me also was like, that would have been really nice if I just, like, went over to mile 13 and was done raining, because, like, and done running, because I'm like, I want to get out of this rain. But instead, kept going, and still was holding pace. I slowed down a little bit, but still had like plenty of wiggle room. Up until mile like 18, I think that's when it started just like torrentially downpouring. And it was pretty tough. Like, I had thought to myself, like, I could just slow down for this mile. But I had already kind of slowed down in mile 17, so I'm like, I don't know how much slower I can go at this point and still like achieve my goal. And then the weather just wasn't letting up. Like, it was downpouring. There were sheets of like rain and water just like running down the streets. The my feet were fully soaked. Like I was just bouncing in puddles. It felt like I was swimming. The wind was like picking up, going straight in my face. It started hailing. Like all of this started happening within like a 5-minute span. I'm like, well, I think this might be a sign from like the entire universe that just maybe a PR isn't in the cards today, and that's okay. And so I told myself, like, it's all right. We can adjust our expectations. You'll be happy with I told myself I'd be happy with this decision in the future because I was intentionally doing the choice to like listen to the signs of the universe or whatever. And then it suddenly got so much harder to just like think about finishing, even once I had like set aside my goal. So once I had set aside the goal of PRing, I was like, man, I just want to be done running. Like, I don't want to keep doing this. And then that's when I started to just remind myself of like all of the people that were out, all of the kids that were helping. I made it a mission to like try and high five all of the mile champions from there on out. I like went out of my way to high five some of them if I needed to. I certainly thought at one point that it was going to take me like a full 6 hours to finish the marathon. Like I was like, this is going to take forever. Sam's going to think that I like fainted or like died. Cause I, at that point had like stopped really checking my watch. I was just kind of running based off of feel, which the feeling was that it was not good. But that's what I was focusing on. And yeah, I mean, eventually got there, got to the end. And I felt really good, like the last 0.2 of the race, maybe the last 1.2 miles of the race. I was feeling pretty good, but it was certainly easier for me to I did notice a big difference in like cognitively how I felt when I was running. So like in Chicago, I felt like I was about to faint and like I had like blurred vision and all this stuff, not knowing that that was a result of like low oxygen or anything like that. And then Columbus Marathon, I didn't have any of that, which is great. Like I had a very clear view of the horrible weather, and I had but also a very clear view of all of the amazing people who were spectating and cheering everyone on, and I was able to think straight, well, as straight as you can think when you're running a marathon. And so it did feel like cognitively better, even though like physically I felt pretty gross, because running in the rain for 4 hours is not, like, you're not going to feel good. You're going to be cold and soggy and just like a drowned rat. But yeah, and then Sam texted me whenever I had I think I had like a mile or something left. And this was in the moment where I was like, it's probably taken me 7 hours. I don't know. It's taken me a very long time to get here. And I thought that Sam was texting me being like, did you die? Like, what's going on? When in reality, I finished at a really good time of 4 hours and 11 minutes. So only like 11 minutes and some change off of my PR, which honestly is a fantastic time considering I abandoned my goal and it was like torrentially raining. So I'll take it. I'm happy with that. Yeah. I don't know. That was just like a random kind of rambling of
Yes.
what happened.
Well, and I think the one thing you didn't mention too is your first marathon since you got heart surgery,
yes,
where you got, your hole in your heart closed.
Yeah.
It really hasn't been that long. I mean, it's been, it was like 7 months since the surgery when you ran the race.
No, it was like 5 months.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that was something that whenever I was like recapping, like, I haven't fully connected the dots on that. So with my PFO closure, I had that done in May. I had that done like May 15th or something. And so it was just over 5 months post-surgery whenever I ran the marathon. And like technically, the estimated time that it takes you to fully heal after that surgery is 6 months. And so when I was running, I was like, I don't know how great this is. Like, I definitely wanted to be aware of listening to my body to not overexert it, especially not knowing if everything was fully healed. But like I certainly noticed feeling more clear. I noticed just generally feeling stronger. I was still nauseous during parts of the marathon, but I was not nearly as nauseous as during Chicago, which lack of oxygen can also make you feel nauseous. And I didn't feel like I was going to pass out. So that was good. Because during Chicago, I definitely did think that was going to happen.
Yes.
So like some very, very marked changes while running. But I think something that I've actually noticed, and we haven't gotten into the recovery, so we can like circle back to this when we get there, but like I feel like I've noticed more my ability to recover sooner has been like markedly different. So the racing and running experience has been far better post-surgery, but my recovery has also been amazing too.
Great. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. How about you, Sam?
Yeah, happy to jump in on my side. So for those who didn't know, my goal for this race, which I had attempted a couple times previous, was to break a 3-hour marathon. My best time was a 3:02 marathon, which I ran 2 years prior to the Columbus Marathon. So been working towards PR on that for the last couple of years. And I think from my perspective, like I don't have all the vivid details that Colleen has about the race and like the different parts of the course and everything like that. I'm pretty impressed that you just have that full memory, especially
the oxygen.
Yes, it's oxygen. Especially 3 weeks after the race. But I think for me, like my biggest takeaways are on like the mental side and overall like the big moments from the race that had like affected my overall performance. So, going into the race, I was trying to be like optimistic about the weather. There were points where I was like, okay, like maybe going into this, I'm not going to attempt a PR because it doesn't seem like due to the conditions, it's going to be possible for me to break 3 hours. And just something that I know is like, when it comes to running, you only have so many times in like a year, in my opinion, where you can like go all out and PR for a marathon. And I think that's like 2, maybe 3 times. And so for me to like on a less than ideal day, like go for it, like I'm potentially sacrificing a different opportunity to get that time. And I just knew based on like the way my training went, I wasn't sub 3-hour marathon shape, but I wasn't like sub 2:55 shape where it was like super obvious, and well deserved that I was going to break 3 hours, like with like a bunch of wiggle room, right? I really needed like that perfect sort of day. But yeah, I mean, race started, and honestly, like when I get going into like marathons, normally like the start of the race is quick. That first mile, while it typically is like 6-7-ish minutes, feels like 2 minutes, and like the vibes are good, and I feel light and relaxed after being like stressed going into the race. But like I just honestly, like in a weird way, just like didn't really want to be there. Was like how I was like mentally feeling. It just like felt down, and just like that I was like telling myself this story that like, no, this isn't my day. Like I'm not supposed to be here. Like this is just not what I've been training for. Like I'm dealing with bad luck. Like just like couldn't control my mindset and retune myself into like the reality I wanted to live on the day of the race. And this has like never really happened to me during a marathon, like so early on. It was really weird. I mean, I've had races where like I've gotten into that spot later into the race, but like at the beginning of the race, that was just really odd. But like, I was doing well, is the weird thing about it, while kind of dealing with that early on in the race. I was hitting my paces early on. I was probably like a little faster than I wanted to be, but like I wanted to stay with the 3-hour pace group because I wanted to be near a lot of runners because I knew that the wind was going to be really strong. So I wanted them to, essentially block the wind, and I didn't want a situation where there was like a big gap between me and a big group of runners. And so that was the strategy that I did, and they definitely went out quicker than I would have went out. And essentially, like the first 10 miles of the race, I was, on pace for probably like a 2:57, 2:58-ish marathon. And then at mile 10, and let's note actually before I get into what happened on mile 10, those first 10 miles, like while I was on pace, I was dealing with like a ton of imposter syndrome. Like I did not feel like I was actually like really running those paces. And I'm like telling myself, yeah, I'm running these paces right now, but it's not going to last. It's not going to last. Like I'm not going to be able to hold this for 26 miles. But at the same time, like I was doing it and I was doing it well. And when I like look at my heart rate stats, like I didn't have like a super elevated heart rate. But then at mile 10, freak accident is kind of what I consider it, because this had never happened to me through my entire training life. This has never happened to me during a race ever, to my memory. I completely lost feeling in my right foot, which I'm not fully sure like what caused it, but I mean, what I do believe was the main cause of the issue was probably the rain and like just my form probably not being the way that it normally is, and like me taking like a weird step, and then my shoes being, shrinking from the rain, and then as a result, a combination, or maybe there was one specific thing I don't really quite know, but like lost feeling in my right foot. And while that does sound nice to not have feeling, when you're doing something very hard, it actually hurts, and it like feels like there's like pins going into your feet, and it's just really uncomfortable. And if you're running for time, it's very hard to like push, right? You can run on it. I wouldn't consider it like safe to run on it, like, but like you're mobile. It's just not ideal if you want to be running at a fast pace, especially for another 16 miles, which is where I was at that point. But I kept moving, and then at the half marathon mark, I got there in roughly an hour and 30 minutes. But at that point in the race, like I knew like the race was taking a turn. I mean, I was debating like going off the course and like trying to collect a half marathon medal. I doubt they would have given me one, but I would have at least asked. But I decided, you know what, I'm going to at least try. I'm going to do the race that I signed up for and see what happens. But I just had no, additional, like I was pretty much just running comfortably. I couldn't run hard, right? And so I ended up like running what I would consider a easy pace for the second half of the race. And the second half took me an hour and 53 minutes, and I finished at 3 hours and 23 minutes. And so, yeah, it was 23 minutes short of my time goal. As Colleen shared, and I shared a little earlier, as the race continued, the rain only got worse and worse. The wind only got worse and worse. You were really like running to the wind, having to put a lot of energy. If the conditions were ideal and I had still lost feeling in my right foot, like I don't think I would have, broken 3 hours by any means. I think if I didn't lose feeling in my foot with the conditions, I don't think I would have broken 3 hours. Could I have done it with ideal conditions? No, loss of feeling? Potentially. I do think, based on how I was doing early on in the race, like looking at my heart rate stats, things of that nature, I think I was in the right fitness shape to do it. It just wasn't the day for it. And so I think I just really need to continue training hard and getting better and giving myself more wiggle room to break 3 hours. But I also do need a really good day weather-wise. And I've just gotten pretty unlucky when it comes to weather. So that is what it is. But yeah, that was my experience.
Yeah, and I think that there's something to be said about the fact that that you still showed up. I also, before the race, was like, I don't want to be doing this. I want to be in bed and warm and dry and like maybe drinking a cup of coffee. Like, I would like to be doing anything that does not require me to be standing out in the cold rain. And the fact that, like, I think that there's something to be said about the fact that both of us went in, we pivoted from our goals, we were still able to finish no matter what we were thinking. It sounds like both of us were experiencing a lot of that negative self-talk. And so, I do think that there's something to be said about anyone who can go through and finish something, especially in the weather that was occurring. And something that we haven't talked about is that there were people who were like walking the marathon and the half marathon in that condition, which I might argue is even harder than running in those conditions, because like you don't like necessarily get super warm and you're out there longer. But I really think that if you can do any distance of any event in such poor conditions like that, you just gotta be happy about it, no matter what the time was. Because like you just gotta, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. You know what I mean? There's so many things that you can try to control, and the weather will never be one of them. And so I think it was a very valuable learning experience, at least for me, about like what I value, why I was there in the first place, coming to that recognition, and being able to overcome something that felt so impossible in the middle of such poor conditions.
Yeah. And then, I think from my end, like, I know you like have that like emotional connection to the children. That was like, I guess the one thing too that was like pretty challenging for me, because I feel like while I like would, pass the different children champion and everything like that, I just feel like I wasn't really in a state where I could like celebrate them in the way that I wanted to. But like, it sometimes like it's okay, like in my opinion, like if you go through an experience like that and like emotions are off, and like it could be an emotion you're feeling about yourself, about others, about the card, the deck of cards that you're drawn. But like I think like what's important is that like you can, after that experience, recognize things the way that you want to, have a little bit of a clearer mind and connect how you would like, and then continue to move forward towards other things and everything like that. So I know you like inferred about talking about the recovery. Sounds like a strong recovery from you after the race. From like a mental side, you were saying. Anything else you wanted to add on that?
I think just the return to running has been a lot easier that I've noticed following the like heart surgery. Like I would 100% attribute it to the heart surgery. So, I mean, this time last year, I was recovering from Chicago. I was barely able to run 5 miles without feeling like horrible. And then like, I mean, either at this point, literally this like exact day a year ago, or shortly around this time, I fainted. Like there was no like actual return to running. Like I tried, my body said no, I tried again. Like it was pretty tough. And like, this week I've been back to doing like, I did an 8-mile long run today, and I was like, wow, this is great. I feel good. Like I can do this. I've done speed workouts, I took a full week off after the marathon, which I think is like something that I tried to do, to just like give myself time, even though I felt like I could have ran a few days sooner. There's no, in my opinion, there's no need for me to like just add additional stress on my joints and my muscles and anything like that so soon after. So I just rested, and then was able to go for a 4-mile run as my first run back, which is actually kind of like long for a first run back for me, at least. I felt really good. And so, yeah, the return to running has just been like way different. And usually after races, I would feel like so foggy for like a month month and a half, which again makes sense because so not only did I have the hole in the heart, but the hole in the heart was causing this syndrome called like platypnea orthoxia syndrome. And so it caused my oxygen saturation to drop. So basically, anytime that I would race, my brain would be starved of oxygen for like the entire time that I was racing. It would also happen during exercise or running too, but like more severely whenever I'm racing because I'm putting more effort into it. So after each race, like my body, my mind was just like fully depleted. Like it would take such a long time because my brain would have gone for a very long time without adequate oxygen. My muscles were going for long periods of time without adequate oxygen. And so the recovery process was just like, it was just excruciating. And I remember thinking after the Chicago Marathon, before I fainted, I just remember thinking like, wow, my body doesn't seem to like these distances. Like whatever's going on, like it's taking me like seemingly a really long time to recover, especially in comparison to like I would see you go out and run and I'm like, I can't do this like at all right now. And so, you know, again, that was before we were able to diagnose anything and get it found out, but you know, I feel fine. Like I was a little foggy like the first week after the marathon. I also got sick, like I got a cold. Which, you know, shocker, running out in the rain for 4.5 hours. Who's surprised? Not me. But, you know, I got a cold and I felt a little foggy, but then I was fine. Like, I feel okay. I feel okay mentally. Whereas, you know, previously it would take just such a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think from my from my end, you know, I think something I definitely tend to deal with after these big marathons is like post-marathon blues, which I don't really deal with when I like am running a race for fun or I know I'm not going for a PR. I think this experience was different because I was going for a PR, so I did it like forecast post-marathon blues, but I really didn't deal with that. I think mostly because like when you run a race and like you go through this big training block and you have so much energy going towards it, and then you get like insane levels of dopamine during the race, like the top levels of runners high. Then after it, I think like it can be like a little depressing. It's like almost like taking like a drug, even though it's fully legal and like you're not actually intentionally taking anything.
It's fully legal.
Yeah, it's fully legal. But like I think because I like didn't really have like any of those like crazy positive mood swings that I would have really loved to have gotten. You know, I was feeling fairly good after the race mentally.
You were like, I'm out of the rain, let's go.
Which is like, I guess, like a positive. Like feeling like shit during a race is you feel almost good after because you're not depressed from missing out on the amazing feeling you got from that race. But yeah, I mean, I think what did help me as well, honestly, like the day after the race, I literally traveled for work and I was at a conference for multiple days, which was like kind of scary for me because I know like typically after a race I'm not feeling great mentally, but also like I struggle to walk. I knew there was like a walking tour and all these different things, but I honestly, I think it was good because for me, I was able to just like pretty easily move on and like not have to think about the race too much. I mean, I did have like coworkers asking me about it and whatnot, but like told them about it and then like that was really the end of it. So I think it was kind of nice where I just got to like do something a little bit different after a race that just kind of kept me busy and, you know, not in bed, laying down, relaxing too much and, you know, questioning, you know, the whole experience and everything like that and over analyzing it. Like Colleen, I took off like I think 5 or 6 days, but I definitely got a lot of steps in that you know, stretch recovery wise. And yeah, ever since I've been feeling good on the running side. You know, me and Colleen, we're now focused on taking this as an off season for a little bit, where we're still training and looking towards getting better, but setting up for our next marathon. I was debating for a little bit doing a winter race, but I decided against that because I do want to like get better, get a lot better. And I don't think I can do that in 2 months. In fact, I know I can't do that in 2 months because you're essentially recovering, going through a quick build, and then you're running a race, and it could go bad again because
and the weather could be a gamble too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we decided, we always do a 5K turkey trot in Florida when we visit my parents there, so we're going to do that.
As you might expect, we both take far too seriously for it being a turkey trot 5K.
Yeah, but we are
But-
committed to getting better and everything like that. So
We're also not the only people who take it far too seriously.
everyone does, and then
Yeah.
that's fine. I don't know why. I mean, anyone who runs it for fun, that's cool. But like, I don't know why. Like, just because it's called a turkey trot, I can't like give a full out effort.
No, I'm saying other people also give full out effort, so
Yeah.
it's less cringe because we're not the only ones doing
I want to like burn as many calories as possible in a 5K. Like, there's really only
turkey.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna try to go for a PR in the 5K between that race, and then we also signed up for a reindeer 5K that's at the end of the year locally here in Cleveland. So we'll have 2 opportunities. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll definitely be like a little bit lower mileage the next 2 months, but definitely like focus on speed and strength training and recovery and everything like that. And then going into the new year, we haven't signed up for it, but we talked about maybe finding some like local 10Ks and maybe like a half marathon. And then what we did sign up for in April, which will be our next marathon, my 11th marathon, and what, your 4th marathon level distance race? So you did 2 ultras. No,
this will
5th.
be my third. So it'll be my 3rd marathon.
3rd marathon, but 5th marathon distance race because you did 2 ultras.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
5th marathon or more.
He's like, oh yes, I did 100K. That's not a marathon.
It's 2.5.
So yeah, it's called the Glass City Marathon. It's actually another marathon in Ohio, Toledo, Ohio. If you're not familiar, it's about 2 hours west of Cleveland. You're really approaching like Michigan. It's actually only like 45 minutes from Detroit, so that's like your closest airport. And it's a smaller race. There's about 5,000 total runners between the marathon and the half marathon, and they also do a 5K, and I think like possibly a relay, but don't quote me on that. It's a very flat race, so it's a little flatter than Columbus. Weather is known to be good because it's like mid-April, so you could expect some cooler weather, but it could be warmer. We don't know. We'll see what happens, but
There will be a torrential downpour.
yeah. But it's a convenient race. Like, you drive up to the start line, and it's small, but they have like really good like local support and everything like that. Not really like a lot of crazy rules or anything like that, which is nice. And it's definitely known as like a popular Boston qualifier race. I think like 20 to 30% of people qualify for Boston there. So people like travel for this race for the opportunity to run a really fast time, which is always good to be around that. So yeah, if anything, compared to a lot of the races we have done, like logistically, I expect this to be like a more simple experience. And then like, from here, we'll see what we want to do next. But yeah, just really excited to like grind the next 6 months and like step on a lot of different lines as well, and just like get some good races, and then hopefully see some PRs or just like really good performances. I don't think it's like we have to PR, but like just like proving to ourselves that we can like run really good times and like get better and like sustain the training through like what's going to be a hard, dark, cold winter in Cleveland. So it's Colleen's first winter here, so should be an interesting experience. But yeah, that's what we got going next. And we'll, of course, keep you posted on everything. But before we let everyone go, Colleen, anything else you want to say about the Columbus Marathon or the training that we have coming up?
No. I mean, the only thing
No.
I think is don't forget to run brighter.
Yeah, don't forget to run brighter. But before that, I do want to say that let me get my my quick spiel in. We appreciate you listening.
Did you have anything else to say, Sam? Sorry.
Oh yes. Yes, if you enjoyed this episode, it would really mean the world to us, depending on the podcast platform. leave the episode 5 stars, give it a like, leave it a comment. Like if you have any questions for us as well, or just like feedback on, the episode, we do appreciate all of that to help boost the episode. But then I would also say if anyone is training for a race this fall, or if you're listening to this come the new year and you're really motivated and you want to try out running, or, hit a specific time or run a distance you've never ran, I am taking on a few more clients for personalized running coaching. Best way that you can get in touch with me is just go on my website, fill out a form, or DM me on any of the platforms. Would love to help you in your journey. But outside of that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening. And as always, you can do it now.
Don't forget to run brighter.
All right, we'll see you soon. Thanks.